Good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to thank UNITA, in particular Mr. Alexander Mecher, for inviting the permanent mission of the Order of Malta to participate in today's dialogue on faith, peace building, and development. I have been asked to, and I quote, add the humanitarian perspective to the development perspective by sharing with you what the Order of Malta is doing to support development and also its role in the preparatory process leading up to the World Humanitarian Summit, unquote. Allow me first to say a few words about the Order of Malta's vocation and its position in today's international humanitarian architecture. A lay religious order of the Catholic Church, the Sovereign Order of Malta is a 900-year institution with a mission of care for the poor, the needy, the excluded, the displaced, and the sick. It is impartial, neutral, apolitical, and it does not pursue any economic interest, which is why it enjoys the trust of populations and governments. As a subject of international law that exercises functions of sovereignty, the Order is recognized as such by more than 100 states in Europe, Africa, the Middle East, Asia, and Latin and Central America, and by the European Union, with which it maintains diplomatic relations. Of these countries, 29 are members of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, with whom we have long-standing, ongoing humanitarian projects. It maintains permanent observer missions to the United Nations and its agencies, to the African Union, and with the principal international and intergovernmental organizations. The Order, which since 1834 has its headquarters in Rome, has its own government, an independent magistrate, issues its own passports and stamps. Today, the Order of Malta is extended across the world as never before. On the operational level, it is a transnational, global, and decentralized structure which develops socio-medical and humanitarian projects in 120 countries on all continents. Day to day, its broad spectrum of social projects provides a constant support for forgotten or excluded members of society. Its outreach increases continuously, responding to needs for humanitarian aid. The nearly 14,000 members and 80,000 permanent volunteers of the Order of Malta are driven by the Christian mission of preserving human dignity and by assisting and helping those in need, regardless of their religion, their belief, or their origin, as coded in the Order's constitution. A mission that has remained the same, albeit adjusting to the different needs throughout the centuries. And now I will turn to the humanitarian and development activities. We know that we cannot achieve sustainable development or disaster risk reduction goals without reaching the millions caught up in humanitarian crisis. During a meeting at the World Economic Forum in Davos last month, the United Nations Secretary General emphasized the main themes of the Sustainable Development Goals, i.e., and I quote, leaving no one behind and moving from delivering aid to ending need. He also called for, and I quote, bridging the humanitarian and development divide. We cannot just put all this development aid to humanitarian or humanitarian aid towards development. This has to work together, unquote. The Order of Malta shares the Secretary General's view that we should aim for a closer integration of development assistance and humanitarian aid. 5 of the 17 SDGs already shape our current priorities in humanitarian action. SDG 1, end poverty. SDG 2, end hunger. SDG 3, ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all. SDG 6, ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. SDG 16, as you've already referred to, Alex, promote peaceful and inclusive societies. Our ambition is to improve health, to strengthen resilience, as well as to provide protection and rapid response to emergencies. We work globally with a long-term commitment to disaster relief, recovery, and rehabilitation in full respect of the humanitarian principles of impartiality, independence, neutrality, and humanity, and of international humanitarian law. We provide assistance in cases of conflict, such as in Syria, as well as natural disasters, the latest being Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines. Recognizing that many disasters remain relatively unnoticed by the public, so-called forgotten crises, are of special concern to us. We therefore run long-term programs in Myanmar, Pakistan, South Sudan, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and recently in the frame of the Burundi crisis. Sector-wise, we have specialized in health, water and sanitation, nutrition and food security, and disaster risk reduction, thereby paying particular attention to the concept of resilience. We consider issues related to vulnerability, such as poverty, climate change, and natural disasters, as interrelated problems, and seek to address them by combining and linking different program elements. Further, we aim to improve the capacity of communities to resist shocks. By linking phases of relief, rehabilitation, and reconstruction that follow a crisis or disaster, we are addressing both the humanitarian and development aspects. These situations offer windows of opportunity for rebuilding livelihoods and physical structures in a way that will increase community resilience and reduce vulnerability to future disaster risks. By serving those in need and placing them at the heart of our humanitarian development work, we ensure that they lead a healthy life in safety and dignity. And I will now turn to the forthcoming World Humanitarian Summit. The international humanitarian community is ill-equipped to confront the proliferation of armed crises and natural disasters and the multiple shocks of violent extremism that we are presently witnessing and which affect more than 60 million displaced people and refugees, and a record number of 125 million needing urgent humanitarian assistance. The present unsustainable humanitarian model is overstretched and underfunded, and every new crisis shows that it has not only reached its limits, but has overreached itself because of a wider systems failure. Lack of financial transparency, short-term earmarked funding, credibility and accountability gaps, etc. These unprecedented challenges can only be addressed successfully by all actors working together in a spirit of solidarity, cooperation, and burden sharing. The goal should be the improvement of the humanitarian system in all its facets. Against this background, the Secretary General's initiative to convene the first ever World Humanitarian Summit in May, with the aim of establishing a new agenda for humanity, offers a unique opportunity to build an effective universal partnership for humanitarian action and to work towards a universal approach to humanitarian values and principles. As part of the global humanitarian system, the Order of Malta is committed to contributing its share to the 5 core responsibilities established so far by the WHS. Prevent and end conflicts, uphold the norms that safeguard our humanity, reach the most vulnerable and furthest behind first, change people's lives and move from delivering aid to ending need, and enable all this by investing in humanity. In this spirit, we organized here at the Palais des Nations last May in close cooperation with the WHS Secretariat, a symposium entitled Religions Together for Humanitarian Action, Reaching Out to Victims of Armed Conflict, the Special Role of Faith-Based Actors. Assisting the poor is deeply rooted in the teachings of religions. It is widely recognized that religion-based actors are a crucial part of the architecture of international humanitarian activity due to the power of their conviction, their reach, their motivation, their longevity, and the fact that they combine technical care with an ethical and spiritual dimension. Participants at the symposium explored the relation between religion and conflict, the role of faith-based institutions and bodies in conflict areas, and highlighted the importance and the added value of religious institutions in humanitarian action. They emphasized the importance of interreligious dialogue, as we've already heard from the previous panel, including the establishment of quick and practical interreligious links, and expressed concern at the fast decreasing regard for humanitarian principles and the lack of respect for international humanitarian law and human rights, and they called for innovative ways to fight this tendency. The key proposals that emerged from our symposium cover 3 areas in which the faith-based community could improve the humanitarian system. First, dialogue, communication, common understanding, developing new approaches for cooperation between faith-based actors. Second, power of local communities, as we've already just heard. Build capacity of local religious communities, FBOs, and effective people. 3, bridge the gap. Create concerted FBO action and a coherent approach to humanitarian assistance and development. The symposium also paved the way for the launch of a 5-point charter at a side event on the place of faith institutions and faith-based organizations in a reformed humanitarian system during the WHS Global Consultation held here in Geneva last October, and which will be included in our proposals at the World Humanitarian Summit. The main key points of the Charter are, first, human dignity and the welfare of all people are the main objectives of our faith and religion. Religion provides us with commitment, credibility, compassion, and trust. Our principal role is to serve other people. Second, we recognize the importance of promoting the fundamental rules and principles of international humanitarian law. Third, we conform to the codes of practice and other norms of the international aid system. Under no circumstances do we spread our faith and religion by proselytizing. Fourth, we will promote greater mutual understanding to reduce the risk of violence and conflict. We will seek to identify supportive religious leaders to promote peace and reconciliation and to fight religious fanatism. And fifth, we recognize the paramount importance of local communities in humanitarian responsiveness and action. And finally, we hope that a tangible result of the Order of Malta's engagement towards the World Humanitarian Summit will be a special event on religion and humanitarian action to be held during the summit, which should frame and strengthen the place of faith in a reformed humanitarian system. Some 250 religious leaders and heads of faith-based institutions and organizations are being invited to participate in this event, and the outcome of the discussions is expected to feed into the summit document, the final summit document. We are presently working on this project, which is being prepared by the WHS Secretariat and the United Nations Interagency Task Force on Religion and Development, in consultation with a number of religious and faith-based actors. With 84% of the world population identifying with a religious group, a reformed international humanitarian system can only benefit from religion's peaceful, non-violent content as a rich source of reconciliation, social tolerance, devotion, humanitarian commitment, empowerment, and peace building. In concluding, allow me to quote from an article by United States Secretary of State John Kerry on religion and diplomacy, and I'm sure and I'm aware that many other political leaders have also already spoken out on this. And I quote Secretary Kerry, "Amid the diversity of the world's religions, there are common denominators. They share fundamental concerns about the human condition, poverty, human relationships, and our responsibilities to each other. Many people talk about how we draw strength from the example of our religious communities, but too few actually translate those words into actions or policies. Leaders in public life need to recognize that in a world where people of all religions, of all religious traditions, are migrating and mingling like never before, we ignore the global impact of religion at our peril." Unquote. Thank you for your attention.